What's up again there, guys? Brian here, the 3 Topics Gamer, here to share with you another one of my awesome worst to best ranking lists. And since we've already tackled the PlayStation consoles several years ago, and recently we just tackled the Nintendo consoles, it's only fair that we complete the holy trinity of gaming for the current generation as we tackle the Xbox consoles. Now, before we get into this ranking of the few Xbox consoles that we have, if you haven't already, I would really appreciate if you give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to press the subscribe button to help us grow the channel, because every subscription counts. Now, before we get into this ranking video, I just want to get this out of the way because I know some people might be a little bit hesitant to continue on with this video. Now, for those of you who've been watching my channel, you know where I stand. I am a massive PlayStation fan, and as I stated in my Nintendo console ranking video, I will never regret my Nintendo origins. I start with Nintendo, and now I'm PlayStation. However, that cannot be said much about Xbox, because I am very much against Xbox. Not so much against Xbox gamers, because heck, if you've chosen Xbox as your primary console to have your gaming experiences, that just says something about your taste. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just saying that's a different approach than I would go, but heck, I think in some departments, Xbox can be appealing to some gamers. It's not very appealing to me, but heck, I think I have the right to say that I can properly rank these consoles, since there's only 3 of them, with objective eyes and being as fair as possible. However, with the worst console, that is going to be rather difficult to do. So, without wasting any more time, let's jump right into this ranking video. Again, only 3 consoles, so this is not going to be a very long video. But at the bottom of the list, this is what I consider to be, without a doubt, the worst of the 3 Xbox consoles that exist to this day. And the worst and bottom of the list has to be... Ranked lowest on my list out of all of the Xbox consoles has to go to the only Xbox console that I've actually ever owned personally, and that has to be the Xbox One. Now, I don't really have too much to say about my own personal experience with this system, because I only owned it for about 8 months, starting from April 2015 to November 2015, and in that time span, I literally only owned 6 games for it, one of which I couldn't even finish, and within that 8 months, I only turned it on less than 10 times, as it just collected dust for months until I got tired of looking at the thing and just traded in to purchase my Darth Vader themed PlayStation 4 that I still use to this day. It suffers from not having, in my opinion, a very strong and diverse lineup of strong exclusives. But to be honest, that's always been a weakness of all of the Xbox consoles, so I'm not going to criticize it too much for that. I don't have much against the Xbox or the Xbox 360 because I merely test played those, and I didn't have to spend money like I did with the Xbox One. But once I had the Xbox One, it had really a small amount of uses to me. I wasn't going to use this to play multi-platform games, I wasn't going to use it for streaming services, and I certainly wasn't going to use it to play games online. But perhaps I should have expected this. After all, we did have to go through that whole DRM controversy, as well as all the online problems that this Microsoft console was going to have. But I must admit that Microsoft, by attempting to do this when this system was first announced, did lead to perhaps the greatest moment that I've ever seen at an E3 Sony press conference. And I'm happy to say that I was actually at that E3 in person when it happened, and it was truly a magical moment. However, that for me was the very moment that Microsoft realized that they had just lost the 8th generation console war and the systems weren't even out yet. And the sales have clearly shown that, as the Nintendo Switch has already passed it by, and the Xbox One had a 4-year head start on that system. The only thing that I could think that the Xbox One handled very well was the fact that, unlike the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One was actually backwards compatible. In my personal opinion, looking back, I really don't see too many people thinking too fondly of this system moving forward, as though there were certainly a number of technical improvements that the Xbox One had over its predecessors. I see this as a clear example of Microsoft failing to continue what made them very successful with the 360, and instead do nothing but repeat a number of previous mistakes, but just make them worse, which is why I view the Xbox One as the worst of the Xbox consoles. Ranked right in the middle for second place has to go to the very first Xbox that came out in 2001. Now, I don't have a lot of memories about playing this particular console, so I don't really have many negative things to say about it. Because the last time I actually played this Xbox, I was in middle school, and I remember only playing about 2 games for it, which were Halo 1 and Halo 2. And I do remember having a bit of fun playing these games with my friends, as even now I can openly confess that I am currently not a big fan of the Halo franchise. Now, visually, the Xbox was the largest console I had ever seen, with my favorite color being green. That did make the console stand out for me. But this was right before I went full PlayStation during the PlayStation 3 era, so I had no problems playing the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, and just wanted to focus on having fun. Now, the Xbox was really Microsoft's first real attempt in entering the gaming console market, and I think that for a first timer, it actually handled itself pretty well against its competition, despite the fact that it did fail in, how should we say, fail is a kind of a strong word, but it never really managed to build an audience in Japan, even to this day. And heck, according to Wikipedia, it says that this system apparently lost Microsoft $4 billion during its market lifespan, which is very unfortunate. As much of a Sony person as I have become, I don't really want it to be the only gaming choice, as I strongly believe that many consoles and having many options leads to competition. If competition leads to progress and improvements, and that helps everyone. And the Xbox was a great first try that would eventually lead up to becoming a much better console with its follow-up. And looking back on it, I think that the Xbox was a perfect console for American audiences, and its sales clearly show that, as the Xbox did manage to follow a number of Sony's examples in creating a console that could do more than just play games, which was a mistake that the GameCube did. And having learned from that, it became a very solid entertainment system in my eyes, which is why I would place the first Xbox second on my list. Ranked number 1 on my list, and what I consider to be the best Xbox console Microsoft has ever created, is the Xbox 360. Now, unlike the Xbox One, which I openly do not like and think was completely useless from my own personal experience, or the original Xbox, in which I don't really have many memories playing it, but the few times I did have a little bit of fun, the Xbox 360 is the only one out of the 3 that I openly do respect. Now, believe it or not, I actually spent less time playing the Xbox 360 than the original Xbox, as I only played it a few times while I was in college, and the only game I ever played on it was in fact Halo 3. Now, mind you, this was well before I actually owned my own personal PlayStation 3, and I wouldn't pick one up myself until September of 2008. And at this point in time, I was in a kind of transitional period from going from a multi-platform gamer to becoming a Sony exclusive gamer. Now, despite the system experiencing some serious red ring of death issues as some of its earlier models of the 360, Microsoft did a great job with its release and not make the dumb decision like Sony did by thinking that pricing your console at $499 or even crazier, $599 was even a good idea. As much of a Sony person as I am, I would never even consider spending up to $500 to buy any Sony console, even the PlayStation 5 whenever it releases. And the fact that the Xbox was smart enough to actually have this console come out a whole year before the PlayStation 3 ever came out made that a brilliant decision by Microsoft. When you look at the sales numbers for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and the Nintendo Wii, you can easily see that all 3 consoles did extremely well, and it ended up being the most competitive gaming generation that I've seen in my lifetime. With the 360, despite having its disadvantages, managed to stay just ahead of the PlayStation 3 up until the end, where the PlayStation 3 managed to just barely squeeze past the 360. I think a major point that led to Xbox's success was its different approach to its motion controls during that era. As the Nintendo Wii and the PlayStation 3 were both using remotes to use its motion controls, the Xbox's Kinect did not need these controls, and therefore, in my eyes, it allowed it to stand apart. And while a good amount of Kinect-focused games did not operate as well as they could have, I believe that when the Kinect games were working perfectly, then some of these games that they did have at their disposal were really impressive and backed up the system. Overall, I respect the Xbox 360 for its ability to compete, choosing to stand apart from its competition, and its inclusion of adding some legitimately great new exclusive IPs, some of which, when I look back even now, I really wish I could have gone back and played them. Xbox 360 is proof of the amount of incredible potential that Microsoft has at their disposal, and if they're willing to look back and take some lessons from this generation and not repeat mistakes that were made during the Xbox One, then there is a real chance that the next Xbox could be just as successful, if not more so, moving forward. And that is why I believe the Xbox 360 is the best Microsoft console ever made. And that concludes my ranking of the 3 Xbox consoles from Microsoft. And I'm sure a number of people are actually going to be surprised about how positive I was about number 1. But heck, just because I have a different point of view from other gamers doesn't mean I can't have respect for their choices. So, if you would like to, please tell me, how would you rank the 3 current Microsoft Xbox consoles? Because I think that, heck, there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from these consoles as we get ready to start off with the next gen consoles, which should come out later this year. So again, if you would like, please share your ranking of the Xbox consoles. And again, as I said before at the beginning of this video, if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. And also, please, if you really would like to do so, press one of the links in the description down below, and you can follow me and contact me on all my social media outlets. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will catch you next time.